Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. So let's sit together, grab some coffee and talk about the cloud. I spend more than 90% of my time in automating tasks and making them reproducible, such that I can spend my time into creative work and work that creates a value in the end. So far, I can say it was always worth it to spend such a high amount of time in automating what I'm doing. In today's video, I'm going to show you why automation is important. I will give you 2 examples where it helped me a lot and how you as a non-programmer can also make use of tools which help you a lot when automating your tasks. So let's start looking at why automation matters. First, automation can remove a lot of headaches you get from repetitive work that you have to do manually. Because who wants to do the same things millions and millions of times when we have a computer that can do it for us in the end? Additionally, if you're automating your task, you can ensure that your result is reproducible from time to time. And also you can make sure you are making less errors because it's not a human making those tasks anymore. Probably you can imagine when you're doing the same thing over and over again the whole day long, you're going to get bored, you pay less attention, you start making errors and you just want to go home. Instead, it would be much better if your computer is doing all the heavy lifting for you and you can have time and enjoying a coffee in the end. Also, when you automate your tasks in a reproducible way, you can apply them to different targets and different places and also make use of it in more than the original task you have ever thought of. As a beginner, you can make use of tools which will help you with webhooks or event chains, which we will look at later. Or when you are a more advanced user, you can use something like infrastructure as code when you are really programming a desired state that you want to apply to many or thousands of parts of your infrastructure or your tasks or your program code or whatever you can imagine. With those automated tasks, you can really make drifts or inconsistencies vanish, and you can be sure everything is always how you want it and always in a good shape. Let's look at the first example. It's a personal experience where I was working with my fiance on making a Google Classroom for creating language learning content. Here, we were creating a Google Classroom where we were uploading a lot of PDF files, audio files, video files, and also creating quizzes for students which join the class in the end. Creating the material is a lot of manual work that has to be done, and it can become very tedious, especially when you have to create really hundreds and thousands of materials in the end, depending on how extended your courses are. What I was dealing with is creating quizzes using Google Forms and then creating also a file tree in the Google Drive, which is sitting behind the Google Classroom. So my task was, for every course, I had to create several quizzes using Google Forms. So you have some grammar and then you create questions, possible answers, and then you have to say which is the right answer. You have to check that the answers are reordered every time, that students can't learn it by heart, and so on. You have to configure the grading system of the forms and so on. This is a lot of manual work. You have to click a lot of different buttons, you have to write down the questions and the answers. As soon as you have created maybe 10 of those quizzes, you really start getting tired about it because it's a lot of manual work. I also felt like that the more I was doing this in a repetitive fashion, I paid less attention and then I started making mistakes after mistakes. This was then very frustrating because I was even using more time on this because I had to also correct my mistakes in the end. Then I tried to find out how can I actually automate this, or is there even a way how can I do this? I did some research. I found some tools where you can use AI to create Google Forms, for example. Those are some plugins you can install in your Google workspace. However, they all didn't satisfy me because they never gave me a Google form or a result that I could use. So then I did more research on that, and then I found that the Google Forms and other Google services have an application programming interface, API, which I can use for interacting with it in a programmatic fashion. Then I saw that they also support my favorite programming language, which is Python. And then I started creating a Python code which can set up all those quizzes. This might sound very complicated now, and it took me some time to do so, but in the end it was very worth it. I could create some program code which was reproducing Google Forms as a quiz form and the grading and all the settings that I needed. And the only input that I had was creating questions and possible answers. And when I'm thinking about them, I have to write them down in a certain format anyway. This format was fixed, and then I could just create a bunch of quizzes by making questions and answer sets and put them into my program code. The result of that was that the program code was automatically creating all the Google Forms quizzes. It was creating the Google Drive folder structure and then also attaching them to the different Google Classroom courses. This saved me a lot of time because I could create hundreds of Google Forms quizzes in the same time which I usually used for, I don't know, creating 10 quizzes or so. This is much better because I don't have to deal with the repetitive work of creating quizzes all the time, but I really don't only have to do the review of the questions and the answers, which require much more thinking than just doing stupid repetitive tasks. In the end, I was so happy about this result that I was continuing to work on it, and I really managed to set up a Google Classroom and everything else automatically as code, and therefore I just called it education as code, following the infrastructure as code paradigm. In the second example, right now in my company, we are moving from one code hosting platform, which is called GitLab, to another code hosting platform, which is called GitHub. And these two different platforms offer services, which is called a runner service, where program code can be automatically built, created, and tested. In my company, I was offering an internal service where I am managing those kind of runner services in GitLab or GitHub for my colleagues that they can develop their code more quickly and in a more streamlined way. When we now changed from GitLab to GitHub, the move was actually very, very easy because the deployment of all the components that were needed were all automated. They were all using infrastructure as code and other components which make this reproducible and automated. Now I can easily offer a GitHub-powered runner service than a GitLab one, and it took me less than 3 days to set that up just because it's automated and infrastructure as code and reproducible. So as you can see from those two examples, it is really automation or nothing. If you follow this paradigm, you can really do a lot of efficient work and remove a lot of headaches that you're having because you have to deal with manual work. You can concentrate on tasks where you actually have to use your brain for, like proofreading, like creative work and so on. And all the tedious work the machines can do for you. Now you might ask yourself, Patrick, you showed us some very technical problems and you had a programming solution in the end to automate it. But I have to say, you don't have to be a programmer to automate your tasks. There are a lot of great tools that you can use for automating parts of your tasks, and we are going to have a look at them now. One platform you can look into is called Zapier. Zapier is a no-code platform where they claim that you don't have to stop waiting for your developers to bring your automation to an app, but you can take control of Zapier to automate your tasks and make everything more effortlessly. As an example, you can use Zapier, for example, for automating email notifications and email tasks. In my last video, I was talking about, for example, how Excel automation can be moved to a cloud with email notification in the cloud. But here you can also use tools like Zapier for triggering email notifications based on several events which you set up in the backbone. You can get started for free. They have a lot of automations you can use, and there are also a lot of other videos on YouTube where experts are explaining you how Zapier works. You should really check this tool out. If you ever wanted to learn a little bit of programming already, you definitely should check out Python because it's one of the programming languages which is the easiest to learn and to understand. And you can make use of it as quickly as possible. One example where you can make use of Python really well is data management and data entries. Like when you have data, which is, for example, in an Excel spreadsheet or in a table somewhere, you can create small Python scripts that can take this data, put them into a report that you can print out or give to your boss, and then really have an automated fashion how to deal with this data. Python, of course, since it's a programming language, it can do much more, but there are very popular libraries such as NumPy or Pandas data frames, which can really help you with data management in an automated task. So you can really use those tools to automate your data management, and maybe it's a good idea to start looking at some program code. As a third example, if you have to do some social media posts, such as posting several things in different social medias, such as YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and so on, you can use tools such as IFTTT. It's an abbreviation for a service which is called if this, then that. And from the name, you can really tell what it's doing. So in IFTTT, you are configuring a certain event trigger, and then you are configuring what should happen. So when it comes to automating your tasks, either creating a small program code yourself using something like Python or tools like Zapier, IFTTT, or maybe even Microsoft Power Automate in some cases can help you. And first of all, what you have to do is figure out the task you want to automate and search for whether IFTTT, Zapier, or even Python maybe already support some solutions for that. And now you might ask yourself, what is the best strategy to automate a whole process? And to do so, first of all, you have to think of what kind of task or what kind of process are you doing very frequently, and which of the processes you are doing is usually the most annoying for you, because this is what you want to get rid of. When you have found your most annoying process, then you have to think about what step in the most annoying process takes the most time, because this is the step you really want to replace with something automated in the end. If you have found a way how you can automate it, try it out and test it. And if it works, you can take the next step, which is the second most time consuming, and also find an automated fashion. Then you can connect your steps together, and then in the end you have a chain of automated tasks which can give you a completely automated result. And then the best thing is, as soon as your task is automated, you can watch the computer doing your work while you can enjoy some coffee. Good, so I want to know from you, what are you going to automate next? I hope this video today was more helpful to you, because it was more about a certain principle you can follow when you are automating or working in your business and your tasks, rather than an actual technical solution. I would be happy to discuss about certain technical solutions with you in the comments. And if you are interested in the cloud, in DevOps as a principle, or infrastructure as code, please follow this channel, like and subscribe, and see you in the next video. Bye!